Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today I got a little quick project we're going to be working on. This is for a viewer, Bob Hockman. He had actually asked me if I could help him out with making a new lathe center shaft. I'm not sure exactly what machine this goes on, but I know this is a center shaft that goes on a lathe. And he sent me the piece that's broken, basically just a piece of rod. It's got a couple of spots on here for some set screws. There's actually a really thin keyway slot in there, Woodruff key, and then turned out to 1/2 inch 20 threads on the end. The end here had broken off, so we're just going to make a new one. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on this thing. So real quickly, just take a look at this. This is the piece that's broken. The end here just came off, broke off, so we need to turn that down, thread that. And like I said, there are a couple of features in here. We got a Woodruff key slot. This is a really narrow Woodruff key slot. What is that? That's the 1/16 of an inch, I think, in thickness and pretty large diameter. I actually had to special order a Woodruff key cutter to cut that because it's not a standard size. There's also a couple of dimples on this for some set screws to go in, another little dimple back here. So I got some steel that we're going to turn this out of. This is already the same nominal size as this, so that way we won't have to turn all that down. And with that, let's head over to the lathe and we're going to get started on this. All right, I got my stock set up over here. I put it in the 4-jaw chuck and just indicated this end to get it running as true as I could get it, as opposed to putting it in the 3-jaw chuck and probably being out a thou or two. I was going to use a collet on this, but I actually don't have a 9/16 inch collet for my 22J collet chuck. I think I got just about every other size over there, but as usual, don't have the one you need. So we're going to go ahead and just get started on this. I'm going to start by facing this off. I need to turn this down 1/2 inch diameter, and that needs to go in 0.63 inches according to the little printout that he gave me for this. So let's fire up the lathe and we'll get started. And I will zero out my Z-axis on the digital readout and just measure in 0.63 inches right there. I'm just going to make a little mark where I'll know where I need to turn down to. We're currently at 9/16, which is 0.5625. We're going to 1/2 inch, which is 0.500. So I'm just going to take a little bit off this first pass and get my diameter set. And I'm just going to measure this with the calipers. And we're at 0.528. 0.528. And we're going to 1/2 inch. Just gonna go ahead and dial that right in, I think. Well, let's take it down to 10 thou just to make sure my measurement's right. So we're at 0.510. According to the digital readout. Let's see where we actually are. Yeah, we're right on where we say we are. So, all right, I'm just going to dial in the 1/2 inch. Right there. We're about 0.63 on the depth. All right, I'll change my cutter out. All right, we're showing a 30-degree chamfer on this that goes in a total of 0.130. So I've got 0.130 on my calipers. I'm just going to come in here and make a little mark there where we need to chamfer that to. And I'm just going to put a little Sharpie on here. then just using my calipers. I got a clean mark there that I can chamfer down to, and I've got a 30-degree angle on this cutter right here. And we'll just take that down to that mark. It's right there. And now we're going to set up for threading a 20-pitch thread. Put a threading cutter in here, and I'm going to get my machine set up for 20 threads per inch. Just blacken that, make it a little bit more visible while we're threading this. I'm going to start by coming in here and touching off. We'll put a little cutting oil on there. And we'll wait for a number to come around here and thread in. The thread pitch gauge and confirm our thread pitch. We are on 20 threads per inch. And we'll finish this out. I'm just going to take a die here and run up on this to get it to final size, just simply because I don't have a 1/2 inch 20 nut to test fit. I went through my nuts a while ago and lo and behold didn't have one, so we'll just run a die up on this. That'll cut it to its final depth. I did purposely stop just a little bit shy with the single point cutter. And just a little tip, anytime you're cutting threads and you want to use a die, if you'll start it with a single point cutter, it'll be a lot easier than just trying to cut the whole thing in one pass with the die. Just running it up on there backwards now so that I can get that cut all the way down to the shoulder. There we go. And that should be cut. 1/2 inch 20 threads. Well guys, ran into a little problem here. When I was making this, I was working off the print that the person sent me. But when I started comparing it to the original shaft that he also sent me, I'm seeing some discrepancies here in his measurements. Looks like he has the total length right, 8.33 inches. He shows this little piece on the end coming in 0.63 inches, which is how far I went in on this. However, you can see compared to the original, and I just super glued that back in place. Probably not the most accurate way of getting a measurement, but clearly you can tell that that shoulder is in a little bit deeper. The best of my measurement, that's about 0.7 inches, 0.0700. So yeah, this is a challenge because now what I got to do is go back over to the lathe and get this thing centered back up. We got to turn that down a little bit more. I'm probably not even going to try to single point thread that because trying to get all that lined back up again will be a nightmare. I'll just take the die and run up on there and try to get it down a little bit farther to get it to the proper depth. Anyway, we'll get it straightened out, but you know, I was believing the print, and unfortunately there was an error in the print compared to the original. So let's see if we can straighten it out. So I got this back over on the 4-jaw chuck and dialed in, and we're running, you know, maybe a couple of tenths. It'll be good. So let's get that turned down a little bit farther, and we'll go from there. And I'm just going to come in here and very lightly touch off on that front. That'll become my 0 point, my Z-axis. And 7 inches on the diameter, not a whole lot. But enough to make a difference. About, let's see, we're at 0.513. 0.513. And I'll need to go to 0.500. Seven thousandths or 70 thousandths on the depth, and I'll get my die. We'll run back up on that and take those threads down a little bit farther. All right, I think we got that little error in calculations straightened out. So now we are ready to move on to the milling machine again. I'm over at the milling machine now. We're getting ready to cut this Woodruff key hole in here. I've got a Woodruff key cutter. Again, I had to special order this. This is a 7/8 inch diameter by 1/16 of an inch thick. It's an oddball size, but that's what it took. We were able to get one in. Now to set this up, I've got my shaft sitting in a 5C collet block, and I've got a 9/16 inch collet in here to hold the shaft. And I've just put a mark on here, center where I want this to be. And you know, honestly guys, that's not a critical measurement, it's just for a keyway. So I just line that up by eye. We're gonna be within a couple of thou of where it needs to be, but that's good enough for this. I've got my measurement over there on how deep I need to cut. I measured that based off the original. I think it's 150 thousandths. I'll have to double check that. But right now what I want to do is get this thing set to the proper height. So again, my diameter is 9/16 of an inch. And I need to go down half of that, which will be 9/32 of an inch, which is 0.28125. Let me double check my measurements here. Yep, 0.28125, looking at the decimal chart. The thickness of this cutter is 1/16 of an inch. And basically what I need to do is I need to move it down half the diameter of the shaft and then also half of the thickness of this. So I need to add to that half of a 1/16, which is a 32nd, which is 0.03125. You add that together, it comes up to 0.31250, which is also 5/16 of an inch. So what I'm going to do here is we're just going to go ahead and touch the bottom of this Woodruff key cutter to the top of the shaft, and then I'll lock it down in place. All right. So now the top of that cutter, or the bottom of the cutter, is flush with the top. And again, I'm going to go half the diameter of the shaft plus half the diameter of the cutter, and that will get us where we need to be. And I'm just going to zero that out on the digital readout, and we'll dial it in, which again is 0.3125. So we'll raise that up. 100, 200, 3, and then 125. Just a little bit too far. 1 right there, 125. All right, let's do this. I'm just gonna do this at about 150 RPMs on my speed. Put a little cutting oil on there. I'm going to bring the table in until it just touches, and then I'm going to zero out my digital readout. So let me pull that in real slow. Right there. I'm going to zero out the digital readout. My depth needs to be 175 thousandths. So we're just going to go ahead and bring that on in. I tend to take my time while I'm doing this. Let me just eyeball that, make sure it looks like it's on the center. And it does. All right. Here we go. Going to 175 on the depth. There's about 80 thou. 100. 125. We're at 150. And 175 right there. And I just let it cut a little bit, make sure it's cut all the way through. Come out, and we have a Woodruff key slot cut. Let me see on the original here, there's a little flat milled in there. We're going to do that here. I've already got my cutter set in where it needs to be. I just need to touch off, and it needs to be about 20 thousandths deep. Get a little more RPM going there. I'm just going to raise up until we touch off right there. And let me zero that out. We'll come up 20 thousandths. And we'll just go across. A little shy, I went 15 thou. Let me go to total 20 here. I just wanted to see what it looked like before I committed. There we go. It's got that little flat. That's just for a set screw. Tighten up on. And I think the last step here is I got a couple of little tiny indentations that need to be made in there for some set screws to engage in. There's 2 of them on here, and I could not really come up with a good way to properly, they're not 180 degrees apart, they're off at a weird angle. I just eyeballed them as close as I can, and we're going to hope for the best. I think it's going to be good enough for what it's being used for. It's just, again, a little indentation for a set screw to tighten up on, and I just positioned them using the original best I can, and we're going to go ahead and put these in there. Just a little spot. That's all it needs right there. And I'm going to have to rotate that around to get the other one ready. And I'll be right back. All right. I think that's all we need. And with that, I think we got this project done. Well, there we go. One new shaft done here. We got our Woodruff key cut, got our threads on the end, got our indentions in here, and our little place in the back for a set screw. I think that right there ought to do the trick. I sure hope so. I'm going to send it on back to them and hopefully work out for them. Well, there we go, guys. Quick little project. Hope you enjoyed that. A little bit of machining. Nothing too terribly difficult, but time-consuming nonetheless. We're going to get this sent up back to him. Hopefully it'll take care of his problem and put him back into business. And we can move on to our next project that we have out here in the shop as well. So with that, guys, that's going to be a wrap. As always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments are always greatly appreciated. Hit that bell icon up there to get notifications when new videos are posted. And as always, a big, huge thank you to those who support the site financially through Patreon, PayPal, etc. Really enables me to be able to take the time to shoot these videos and bring them to you. And with that, guys, we are going to sign off. We will catch you on the next video. Again, thanks for watching.